I have the privilege today of interviewing Roy Young, who was a member of the 2nd 4th Casualty Clearing Station and who was a prisoner of war captured in Singapore and subsequently employed or sent to the Burma Thai Railway, initially at the Burma end and ending up at the Thailand end. Roy, thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview today. It's much appreciated. Maybe you could tell us, do you recall the date of your enlistment and the reason why you joined up? What motivated you to join up?
Well, I joined up in the 27th of July 1940 in Melbourne, and well, I think because everybody else was joining up, and I thought I'd better do my part of the job too, and just joined up for that reason.
And was it always your intention to get into the medical side of the work?
No. I actually, when they first went in, they asked what you want to do, and I didn't know anything about the army. I didn't even know I got paid for it. And I put my name down for transport because I knew one or two other chaps had got into transport, but then because eventually just went into the medical way because I was interested in medical work, and because my wife had been a nurse and things like that, and so went in that way, and
so you were married at that stage, were you?
Yeah, I got married in early July, yes.
And what was your wife's name?
Gwenda May Young, Gwenda May Perkins actually.
Yeah.
She was from Melbourne too.
Yes.
We were born she was born in Tungabar and I was born in America, which was only about 50 miles apart, but we never knew each other till you know, until I started courting her in Melbourne.
Yes, yeah. Now, when were you allocated to the 2nd 4th CCS?
It would be when we'd done a bit of medical stretcher drill and all that sort of business because I was in Caulfield Racecourse about 9 weeks, and when I was down at Colac too for a while. I was doing medical work at Colac in the sort of a small, there's an artillery unit down there, and they had no guns, but they had sticks on the ground, and they did their exercises from the sticks. And I was working there with Dr. Cave. He was from the First War, I think, and then we went back, and when we moved back into Broadmeadows in Melbourne, the 2nd 4th CCS came over from Tassie, and there were a few short, so they just lined us up and picked a few of us out, about a dozen or so Victorians. That's all I think there was in there.
Yeah. So when did that unit deploy into Malaya?
We left Melbourne on the 4th of February 1942.
41 was it, or Singapore fell in February 42?
Yeah, but 1941, that's right. But we went on the Queen Mary across to there, and they took us by train straight away from Singapore up to Kajang, or Kajang as the people call it, about 15 miles from Kuala Lumpur.
So you did your
training? We did more training there,
yes,
yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
which officer was mainly responsible for the training? Do you recall at all?
Oh, I think, well, they all had a bit of a go at it. I think Major Fisher probably was the main one for lecturing, and also we had 8 nurses with us, and they gave us quite a bit of training too, and we of course kept being hard on the nurses because they'd say, "Now boys, have you learned how to make a bed?" "No, sister." A couple of days later, another sister come on. "You boys know how to make a bed?" "No." "Well, I'll show you." And went to the whole lot before they woke up the fact.
You're slinging them along.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
What about Sister Fermanagh? Do you remember her?
Yeah, Fermanagh. Well,
Yeah,
actually, her
Fermanagh.
brother lived in Busselton. I've known him and his wife for years later, and he was over 90 when he died. Him and her both in Busselton.
Yes.
You knew Sister Fermanagh, yeah.
Yes.
I think she was one of the ones that got shot.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, she was.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was, yeah. Now, just as a matter of interest, who do you think were the best trainers? The nursing sisters or maybe the male doctors?
No, I think the nursing sisters were, because that was more or less our work, was nursing, you know, not so much in the operation side. More or less we were trained as nurses and things like that. But of course, once you come on the railway line, there was no such thing as that.
Now, go forward now to December 1941 when the Japs invaded the northern part of Malaya.
Yeah.
Were you always aware of what was going on? Did you, at your level, did you receive information about the progress of the Japanese advance down the peninsula?
Well, yes, I suppose in a certain way, because once they started down, we had to keep moving back. But the first place we moved to was Kluang, just near a airstrip, and the Japs come in and bombed that, and so we knew they were coming down all the time. And then we moved back. We were in camp one or two nights in a leper colony amongst the lepers, and I don't think we had any operations there. But then we moved into the jungle when the Australians first attacked the Japanese and held them back for 2 or 3 days, and that's where we had our main casualties. They were coming in thick and fast. Our officers, our surgeons, they did 90 odd major operations one night, and our Ron Can, who was a X-ray chap, he was one of them helping giving anaesthetics, because the doctors were too busy doing other things and operating, and the medical doctors were doing post-operative things. And as we moved them back, and then we went down to, as the Japs came down, we moved down to near Johore in a part of a lunatic asylum, we used to call it those days, and were there for a week or two before we had to move into Singapore itself. But perhaps if I told you how stupid young people can be around the lunatic asylum, there's a high fence, and they'd taken the section down for us chaps and the casualties come into, and they'd cut down the trees around about 100 metres away from the fence in our area. And one night a chap named Bill Potter, he was in the second MAC, because they were attached to us all the time, and we were on the gate as men came through, just to make sure everything was right. And this black